that's kind of very alarming to me. Why the hell would Future's blood brother, who kind of like runs the FBG label, why would he have a bunch of like, do people keep for their own personal use? No, right? I don't know if it's about like that's what drugs, but no, right? So that kind of seems like they're doing some drug dealing, right? 21 kilos? Kilos? Wow.
The feds just did a massive sweep. Future's real brother, FBG Casino, is now facing serious federal time that could lock him up for life. The whole hip-hop world is going crazy over this because of Casino's flashy lifestyle and his deep FBG connections. He was allegedly tied to a major operation that ended with the feds kicking down doors, finding 21 kilograms of illegal substances and nearly $400,000 in cash. What's wild is that the truth behind what brought Casino down is way more complicated than anyone thought. The feds are reportedly building something even bigger that could possibly stretch all the way up to Future himself. This is not your average street rumor. This is real federal heat hitting Atlanta's rap scene. Now, let's break this down. The streets have been going off about Casino getting taken in, but it's time to separate the real from the fake. On November 19th, 2025, everything changed for Rico DeVille Boyce, better known as FBG Casino, Future's actual blood brother. At just 41 years old, Casino was chilling at an Airbnb spot in Forest Park, Georgia, when a federal task force pulled up fast, like a full-on storm. But don't get it twisted, this wasn't some random neighborhood arrest. We're talking federal charges, mandatory sentences, and a whole case that's got RICO's name stamped all over it. Now here's where things get real spicy. Casino been living like this for years, so why now? Why him? On November 14, 2025, federal agents from the FBI, DEA, and Clayton County Police rolled up on a Forest Park rental spot like it was straight out of a crime movie. When Casino saw them pulling up, he tried to dip out the side door and make a run for it. At 41 years old, he was moving like it was still his early days in the streets. But here's what most people forget. Federal agents don't pull up without a full plan. They had everything mapped out, probably been keeping tabs on Casino for months before making a move. When they finally stopped him trying to escape, they allegedly found $4,000 in cash right in his pockets. Now to most people, that's a nice chunk of change. But for someone supposedly moving the kind of product Casino was rumored to handle, that's just pocket money. In most neighborhoods, running when the police show up is an instinct. But when it's federal agents, that's a whole different level of pressure. Casino's case hit different because this wasn't some small-time street hustle. We're talking about a highly organized network that has supposedly been operating quietly for years without getting noticed. And here's where it gets even deeper. Let's talk about David S. Devon Montello Diaz, a 23-year-old from Coachella, California, who got tangled up in this whole situation with Casino. This cross-state connection might have been the key reason the feds started paying attention in the first place. When you got people allegedly moving product from California to Georgia, that's considered interstate trafficking, and that's exactly when the feds start paying serious attention. The young man from the West Coast probably thought it was just some quick, easy money, but now he's staring down the same heavy federal sentence as Casino. When agents caught Casino, they reportedly found $4,000 in cash on him, but that was nothing compared to what they discovered inside the house. We're talking 21 kilograms of illegal substances, $380,000 in cash, a money counter, a vacuum sealer, and a Glock 19 handgun. That's not some small setup. That's a full-on, organized operation. On top of that, officials said they found another $80,000 tucked inside a designer bag belonging to Casino. This man was living large, lavish lifestyle, big money moves, while his brother sits comfortably worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But here's where things get even crazier. Casino literally showed up in Future's music video called Feds Did a Sweep. And in that video, he's surrounded by stacks of cash and scenes that mirror exactly how he was living in real life. Talk about art reflecting reality, or maybe reality copying art. Either way, it's like he was showing the whole world what was really going on, and the feds were probably watching closely, taking notes every step of the way. But it doesn't stop there. This story runs way deep into just what was found in one house. See, Casino had been around the game for years. He even talked about it in interviews and dropped mixtapes like Ex-Drug Dealer back in 2013. He told the world he was done with that life, but apparently that X label might have just been for image, not truth. Let's break down Casino's timeline, because this whole story has been building up for more than a decade. Back in 2013, he dropped a mixtape called Ex-Drug Dealer, saying he was done with the streets and ready to focus on music. That project featured Future, Young Scooter, and had production from Metro Boomin and Zaytoven, some of the biggest names in Atlanta. At that point, Casino was trying to rebrand himself, showing the world he left the street life behind and was stepping into the music game for real. But fast forward to 2017, and Casino sitting down with DJ Smalley's Eyes and saying trapping is dead and claiming real hustlers don't exist anymore. He's literally on camera saying the game changed, that people got sloppy, posting everything online, and basically setting themselves up for trouble. Here's where it gets wild. The irony is off the charts, because that's exactly what he was doing himself. Posting interviews, showing his lifestyle, and building a public image that would eventually come back to haunt him. Then there's that street politician interview, where Casino is seen moving around, allegedly armed, and talking about having people ready to protect him while flexing inside a Rolls Royce. Viewers filled the comment section saying he was moving too reckless, that the videos were just asking for unwanted attention. One user even wrote, "How many homies gotta go to the feds before these guys realize these videos are self-incrimination?" And honestly, that comment turned out to be spot on. When your brother's worth somewhere between $50 to $100 million like Future, and you're still out here taking risks that could land you serious federal time, that's either pride, bad choices, or something much deeper in the culture. People call it not wanting to depend on anyone, but Casino took that independence mindset to a whole new level. Some folks would rather risk it all than feel like they're living off someone else's success, even if that person happens to be their own brother. But things get more complicated from here. Casino wasn't just Future's brother. He was reportedly tied to the business side of FBG, helping manage day-to-day operations and handling label responsibilities. Future apparently trusted him with a lot, so the real question becomes, where did the legit business end and the illegal activity begin?
That exact gray zone is what federal investigators look for when building RICO cases. And now Casino reportedly facing a mandatory minimum of 10 years with a maximum sentence of life. And at 41 years old, that's a huge deal. It's a situation that could end his freedom for good if things go south. But here's what's got everyone talking. Casino had been moving like this for years, posting on social media, doing interviews, and even going viral in Future's Feds Did a Sweet music video, where he's surrounded by cash and showing off the same kind of lifestyle that eventually got him caught up. So why did the feds move now? That's the big mystery. Casino had been operating for years, but somewhere along the line, something changed. Maybe it was that co-defendant, David Monteleo Diaz from California, because that cross-state connection likely brought some serious federal attention. But let me break down how these federal investigations really move. The feds don't just wake up one morning and decide to raid someone's house. They build cases slowly, carefully, and with precision. These kinds of cases take months or even years to put together. They use surveillance, financial tracking, phone monitoring, and most importantly, they flip people on the inside. That means somebody close to Casino probably got caught in their own situation and decided to start talking to avoid heavy time. Maybe someone was found with a smaller amount and gave up bigger names to protect themselves. It happens all the time. But this case isn't just about Casino getting caught with substances, it's much bigger. The feds have a pattern, and they love building RICO cases, especially after seeing how things went down with YSL. Think about it. Future runs FBG, Free Bands Gang, and Casino supposedly handle day-to-day operations. There's money moving, artists dropping music, and now federal charges in the mix. It's the perfect setup for prosecutors to try connecting the dots. Authorities could easily attempt to paint a story where Future looks like the one at the top of a larger organization, allegedly using the music business to clean up money linked to his brother's situation. That's the same kind of playbook they used against YSL, saying it wasn't just a label, but a street crew disguised as one. They pulled lyrics, posts, and business records to build that case. The feds could try to claim that Future knew about his brother's activities and use FBG to move money around. That's a serious accusation if it ever lands. Just let that sink in. Future's been rapping for years about the streets, the hustle, and the grind, and believe it or not, prosecutors can twist that kind of content in a courtroom. Songs like Move That Dope and Karate Chop are packed with references to the same lifestyle his brother was allegedly involved in. And here's the crazy part. The feds love using rap lyrics in their cases. Future's entire catalog has bars about street life, and that alone could give investigators something to point at if they ever try to connect him to this case. They could argue that FBG isn't just a record label, but a criminal enterprise, with Future positioned as the boss and Casino as the street-level coordinator. But that's not the only angle they could chase. They might also follow the money. If Casino was making hundreds of thousands from illegal activities, the book question becomes, where did that money actually go? Was any of it ever funneled into FBG? Were certain transactions meant to look like legit business, but were really used to hide illegal profits? That's where forensic accountants come in. The feds have experts who specialize in tracing funds and connecting the dots between street money and real businesses. And let's be clear, this situation isn't just about one arrest. This is about how federal investigations work in 2025. They don't only target the people on the ground, they go after the whole structure. Look at YSL. Look at what they attempted with Cash Money and even BMF back in the day. The pattern never changes. They start with the soldiers, then move up to the generals. But why now though? Casino had been living this lifestyle for years, so what made the feds move in November 2025? Maybe it's because the new administration decided to tighten up on these types of federal cases. Or maybe someone close to Casino, someone high up in his circle, got caught and decided to start talking to avoid heavy time. Or maybe it's simply that investigators finally had enough solid evidence to push forward with a bigger RICO case. But here's what really makes people scratch their heads. Why was Casino still out in the streets when his brother, Future, could have easily given him a role in the business? We're talking about a man worth hundreds of millions, while his blood brother was out here taking life-changing risks that could end with serious prison time. Was it pride, independence, or maybe Future saw what was coming and chose to keep some distance for his own safety? See, in street culture, there's this mindset that you don't walk away from the same grind that built you, even when you got legit chances to start over. Some folks feel like they owe the game something, that loyalty to the people in the network that helped them rise. And maybe Casino felt that same pull, like he couldn't just abandon those who've been dependent on him for years. But here's the harsh truth. That same loyalty might end up costing him the rest of his life behind bars. Family loyalty runs deep, no doubt about that, but business is business. And once the feds get involved, it changes everything. Future probably told Casino long ago to leave that world behind, but you can't save someone who isn't ready to walk away. If Future decides to cover Casino's legal defense, the feds could easily spin that into something bigger, saying it's proof of a criminal organization looking out for its own members. That's the type of narrative prosecutors love to build. But the real question is this case only about Casino, or are investigators quietly working on something much larger behind the scenes? Casino's already facing conspiracy charges, which means the feds believe he wasn't operating solo. They think he was part of a team. Add in that California connection with Montelio Diaz, plus all those social media posts, interviews, and music videos, and suddenly it's looking like the start of a possible full-blown investigation in the FBG as a whole organization.
And get this, the crew that arrested Casino wasn't just your average local law enforcement team. It was a Homeland Security Task Force, a specialized federal unit built to target transnational criminal networks. These aren't regular detectives. They've got resources, manpower, and federal authority to go after high-level suspects. The fact that they deployed that task force for Casino's arrest says a lot. It means they likely see this case as something much bigger than just one man and a few illegal moves. At the end of the day, this whole situation goes way beyond just getting caught with illegal substances. It's about ego, family loyalty, and the danger of not knowing when to step away. Casino had every opportunity to leave the streets behind. His own brother is one of the biggest rappers on the planet. Casino's story is a cautionary tale about what happens when you don't grow past the environment that raised you. He had the perfect blueprint for success sitting right in front of him. His own brother went from the streets to superstardom. But instead of walking that same path, Casino stayed loyal to a game that was never really loyal to him. Now he's 41 years old, staring down the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. And for what? Money he didn't even need? Validation from people who won't show up when things get tough? It's a tragic example of pride and misplaced loyalty. But the real question is, what happens next for Future and FBG? If investigators are really working toward a RICO case, then this might only be the beginning. They'll be watching every single move, tracing business transactions and monitoring every dollar that moves through the label. Future might soon have to make some tough decisions, not just about his brother, but about his entire business structure to protect himself and everything he's built. Because if this case grows any bigger, it could send shockwaves through the entire hip-hop industry. If the feds manage to argue that FBG operates like a criminal organization, it could set a major precedent for how they treat other labels and artists. Imagine that. Every rapper who's ever told stories about the streets in their music could end up under the same microscope. The message from all this is loud and clear. Success in hip-hop doesn't shield you from federal attention, especially when your own family might still be connected to the streets. What the feds seem to be saying, without directly saying it, is that they don't fully believe hip-hop artists can ever really leave that life behind. They're pushing the idea that the culture itself is tied to crime, that the music is just a front for illegal activity. And that's a seriously dangerous mindset to push. If that way of thinking sticks, it could affect every artist who came from tough environments and turned their reality into art. It risks painting every success story from the streets as suspicious, no matter how legit they've become. And then you've got Casino, 41 years old, now possibly facing life behind bars, and for what? Money he didn't even need? Validation from people who won't show up when things get real? It's a tragic truth, but sometimes the hardest move is walking away from the same life that made you. The streets might always be there, but your freedom won't be if you don't know when to step back. As for Future, he's got top-tier lawyers working overtime right now, doing everything possible to make sure none of this heat touches him or his brand. But the truth is, when the feds set their sights on someone, they'll dig until they find a way to connect the dots, whether it's fair or not. Future's smartest move at this point is to keep distance from anything that might be seen as suspicious and focus on keeping his name clean. The big question now is, how deep does this case really go? Is this just about Casino's individual actions, or are investigators really building a RICO case that could reach further? Drop your thoughts down below in the comments. What do you think about this whole situation? And make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we'll be keeping a close eye on how this case unfolds. The streets are watching, the feds are watching, and you know we'll be right here breaking everything down as it happens. Turn that notification bell so you don't miss a single update, because federal cases move fast, and the second new info drops, you'll be the first to know what's really going on. And before you go, check out the video popping up on your screen right now. This story is far from over, and trust, we'll be here for every twist and turn that comes next.